From homeless black man to millionaire, an inspiring true story. Michael sat stiff in his wheelchair, the glare of camera flashes bouncing off his sharp suit. The crowd buzzed around the lavish charity gala, in the heart of a city that somehow swallowed both diamonds and despair. His smile was flawless, too flawless. Inside, his chest tightened like a vice, memories snapping like glass shards. Just 2 years ago, this man was trapped beneath wreckage, his legs crushed, his future stolen in seconds. Now, millionaire, yes, but haunted by a secret no money could fix. Guilt for surviving when others didn't. Tonight was supposed to be just another event, a flash of light and wealth in the grinding city. But fate had other plans. Across the room, between champagne flutes and clinking silverware, Michael noticed her. Jasmine. Not a guest by any usual measure. She was the kind of woman city streets often ignored, wrapped in worn layers, the faint scent of cold nights clinging to he. He saw something there. Not a charity case, something raw and real. As the evening hummed around them, Michael maneuvered his wheelchair closer, curiosity burning hot beneath his practiced calm. Jasmine, with her crooked smile and quick laughter that cut through the stiff air, invited him into her world. Stories of days spent counting stars on concrete, of painful goodbyes and stubborn dreams. They laughed, a sound that startled the polished crowd. Under the stretched canvas of night, beyond expensive chandeliers, they shared a strange, electric dance. Michael's hands brushed Jasmine's, warm, alive, and for a heartbeat, the city's walls melted. For both, it was freedom. But shadows lurked, his crippling fear he'd never belong anymore. Her secret, heavy and dangerous, waiting to break the fragile bridge they'd built. Whispers snaked through the crowd, eyes narrowed. Why is he talking to her? Joe doesn't belong here. The weight of judgment dripped slow and thick. Their smiles flickered, faces tight. Michael's grip tightened on his chair's armrest, his throat raw, heart racing. Could this fragile connection survive the storm? The night slowed, then snapped back with a sudden buzz. Jasmine's phone vibrated sharply in her pocket. Her face changed in a flash, from light to locked. She slid the screen away, eyes darting, hiding whatever message had just come. Michael noticed. The fragile thread between them trembled, heavy with unspoken fears. Could they face their scars together, or would the city's ruthless divide pull them apart once more? What was in that message, making Jasmine scared to share? The night was far from over. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Jasmine's fingers froze on her phone. The smile vanished, replaced by a tension that warped the air between them. Michael sensed the shift, and his heart raced. "Jasmine?" he asked, his voice low. Her eyes darted away, scanning the crowded room. The laughter faded. The chatter dimmed. Instinctively, he leaned in, desperate to grasp the reality shifting beneath their feet. "What's wrong?" Suddenly, the room erupted. A loud crash shattered the moment. A scream echoed, piercing the air. Glass shattered. The glittering atmosphere turned chaotic. People scrambling, confusion erupting like a wave. Michael's heartbeat pounded in his ears as Jasmine flinched. "I have to go," she whispered, her voice shaky. Before he could respond, she was already twisting away, pushing through the crowd, leaving a trail of uncertainty. Heart sinking, Michael's grip tightened on his armrest. "Jasmine!" he called, panic clawing at his throat. But she was gone, swallowed by the throng. Just then, a dark figure emerged from the side. A man in a black hoodie, his posture tense and aggressive. He shouted, his voice low but urgent. "Get down! Everyone, get down!" The crowd erupted into chaos, bodies sprawling, chairs toppling. Michael's heart pounded. He couldn't move, adrenaline coursing through him, urging him to flee, to fight. But he was rooted, panic gripping him tight. The man lunged forward, eyes locked on the exit. Michael's mind raced. Who was he? What did he want? Above the chaos of shouting and scrambling feet, he heard a faint, familiar voice. It was Jasmine, screaming now. "No, stop!" Her voice cut through everything. The energy in the air shifted again, raw fear electrifying the atmosphere. "Stay away from her," Michael shouted, the fury of protectiveness swelling inside him. He strained against his chair, desperate to reach her. But helplessness thundered in his chest. The man turned sharply, and in that moment, he looked less shadowy, more familiar. Michael's breath caught. "Wait, James?" Jasmine's brother. The world tilted as dread gripped him. He had heard whispers, fragments of Jasmine's life. A younger brother trapped in a cycle of trouble. "What's happening? Why are you here?" James' face twisted in despair, eyes wild. "I had to warn her. They're coming for her." A wave of icy realization washed over Michael. The city they had tried to bridge was darker than he had guessed. No longer was the gala just a spectacle. It was a stage for something far more sinister. "Who's coming?" Michael's voice shook. A sudden silence began to engulf the room. All eyes were on them. The wealthy, the curious, the hopeful, now turned fearful. A collective breath held. "Michael, we need to—" Jasmine suddenly materialized at James's side, wild-eyed, her face drenched in fear. "You shouldn't have come!" "Jasmine, what's going on?" he pressed, desperation rolling off him. But before she could respond, the chandelier swayed dangerously, crashing to the floor with a deafening thud. The lights flickered, shadows dancing, as panic swirled again. "Get out! Now!" James yelled. In that moment, the tenuous threads of their shared hope hung by a thread, fraying rapidly as fear settled into Michael's stomach. What was real? Who was chasing them, and why? All he could think was how quickly everything changed. The glittering dream became a nightmare. And amid the mayhem, he knew one thing. The connection they shared might not withstand this shaking storm. Would they survive the truth buried underneath all the glitz? Or would it tear them apart before they ever really had a chance? Michael's eyes were locked on Jasmine, the tension twisting between them like a taut wire. When her phone buzzed again, the vibration seemed to jolt both of them. It felt like an electric shock crackling in the air. She hesitated, her fingers trembling as she weighed whether to share whatever news she had just received. "Is everything okay?" he asked, his voice low, words faltering. The noise of the gala faded momentarily, replaced by the thudding of his heart. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The walls around them felt taller, the chandelier lights dimmer, as she pulled away, her expression shifting. "It's just work," but it sounded rehearsed, a line she had practiced more than once. The crowd loomed around them, whispering. The judgment dripped in thick layers as eyes shifted away from the glitz, narrowing on Jasmine. "She's not meant to be here," one voice sneered. Another chimed in, "Look at them together!" Pain lanced through Michael's gut. He wanted to reach out, to pull her back from whatever shadow loomed in her eyes. But just then, the room's energy spiked, electric and raw. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed against the marble floor. Everyone turned sharply. A waiter had dropped a tray of crystal glasses, shattering them into 1,000 sharp shards that glinted like broken dreams. The sound reverberated through the crowd, drawing sharp intakes of breath, pulling focus away from them. In that moment of distraction, Jasmine's face turned pale. She slipped her phone from her pocket and stared hard at the screen. Michael leaned closer as she mumbled, "Oh no, it can't be." Without thinking, he moved to grab her hand, a desperate need to anchor her, to pull her back. But she yanked away, her eyes wide with panic. "Michael, I can't be here right now." The urgency in her voice shattered any remaining calm. It snaked around his chest, squeezing tighter. "Jasmine, what's wrong?" he asked, fear pooling in his stomach, the night quickly becoming an avalanche of confusion. Before she could respond, the phone buzzed again, a loud, insistent vibration. Her breath hitched as she looked down. What she saw made her go completely rigid. "Please, just talk to me," he urged, trying to keep his voice steady amid the chaos swirling inside him. But then, the mumbled chaos on the other side of her phone cut through. "Jasmine, you need to come home. Now!" They found him, her face drained of color. The crowd around them faded into a blur, voices merging into a low hum. But all Michael could hear was the pounding in his ears. "Home? Who found who?" "Just go," she whispered. Her words trembled with something heavy and unspoken. I can't explain here." The atmosphere shifted, thickening with tension and disbelief. Faces around them turned, eyes wide and locked on Jasmine, judging, looking for the scandal that just cracked the night open like an egg. In that second, there was a part of her he didn't know, a shadow lurking beneath the surface, something that changed everything. How could he have thought he understood her? What about them? "Jasmine, wait!" But she stepped back, eyes wild and glossy with unshed tears. "I have to go. I have to face it. Face him." Before he could say anything more, she turned and slipped through the crowd like a wisp of smoke, leaving him frozen, paralyzed by the storm that just unleashed. Could he find her? Or was this the last he would see of the woman who had stirred something deep inside him? The night had transformed in an instant, and all that remained was uncertainty, leaving Michael stranded amidst the glittering facade of the gala, haunted by the question, that now loomed in the empty space between them. Who was the man that had been found? Michael stood there, the glitter of the gala swirling around him. A storm of confusion and dread. Jasmine's panic echoed in his ears, the unspoken fears clawing his heart thumped, a steady drum of urgency. Where did she go? Could he find her? The crowd was still buzzing, but their laughter felt distant, muted by the pounding in his chest. Just then, he spotted James again, the expression on his face tight with worry. Michael wheeled closer, desperate for answers, as the chaos around them began to settle slightly. "James!" Michael called, catching his attention. "What's going on with Jasmine? You have to tell me!" James shook his head, a cocktail of fear and urgency coursing through him. "You don't understand! She's—" Before he could finish, a loud bang cut through the air. The front doors of the gala burst open. A group of men stormed in, their faces obscured behind masks. The atmosphere shifted again, dread thickening the air like smoke. Shock rippled through the crowd, gasps erupting. "Get down!" one of the masked men shouted, brandishing a weapon that glinted in the chandelier lights. Panic exploded. People screamed, scrambling to flee. Michael's heart raced faster as the masked figures moved through the chaos. They weren't here for the gala. They were hunting. And in that wild moment, Michael caught sight of Jasmine again. She stood frozen near the exit, her fear palpable, eyes wide with disbelief. "Jasmine!" he shouted, helpless as he wheeled closer, trying to reach her. But in an instant, one of the masked men pulled her away, drawing her into the throng. "Come with us," he barked, yanking her toward the exit. Everything shattered, reality twisted. She struggled, screaming, "No! Let me go!" The world flipped. Without thinking, adrenaline surged through Michael. "Stop!" he roared, wheels propelling him forward. But James moved faster, racing toward the chaos. "Get away from her!" he shouted, lunging at the masked man. In a split second, the man turned, shoving Jasmine aside. She stumbled, and without realizing, Michael felt something shift deep within him. An urge so primal, the need to protect her, pushed him harder. He gritted his teeth and pushed his chair with every ounce of strength. But as Jasmine fell to the ground, a shout broke through the chaos, sharp and sudden. "Don't touch her!" Every eye turned. The crowd gasped as Jasmine's brother revealed something, a glimmer of steel in his hand. A knife. It glinted like a warning, fear knitting the brows of those present. At that moment, a deafening shot rang out. Michael's heart stopped. Time froze as the room fell silent, eyes wide, breaths caught. A sharp pain shot through the air, and there was Jasmine, frozen, eyes wide, hand clutching her side. "No!" Michael screamed, the world crashing in around him. The bloodied truth surged forth, ripping the fabric of the night apart. The room spun as he felt the ground beneath him crumble. Why was she bleeding? Why wasn't anyone moving? In that heartbeat, everything shifted. The facade of their lives shattered, revealing a twisted web of connections woven through deception and desperation. No longer just a gala, no longer just a story of hope. It was a ticking time bomb. Jasmine gasped, staggering back, her face pale. "Michael," she barely whispered, her eyes growing dim. And just like that, Michael understood. It wasn't just her brother in trouble. Something far deeper, darker was lurking just below the surface. "Who's coming for you, Jasmine?" he choked out, grounding himself against the roar in his ears. But as her eyes fluttered, the glimmer of life flickering away, the question lingered heavy in the air. The shocking truth hung there, poised to tear them apart. When the promise of a better future become a haunting memory, he had to know. The night was far from over. Jasmine's phone buzzed again, slicing through the laughter and music, a harsh reminder of their reality. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the device to her palm, attention snapping away from Michael. For a moment, it felt like an invisible line stretched between them, tightening. He could see the shadows cascade across her face, changing everything. "Jasmine," he whispered, leaning closer, his heart thrumming. She looked at him, but her expression was distant. Eyes glossed over. It's nothing." But he knew better. The weight in her voice felt like a lead balloon. The crowd swirled around them, oblivious to the tempest building just a breath away. Michael searched her eyes, trying to pry open the door of her silence. Then, without warning, a scream pierced the air. It was like glass shattering, an eruption from somewhere deep in the gala. Heads turned. Michael's heart raced. Where? What? He glanced behind him, and time slowed. Chaos unfurled. A man stood by the entrance, wild-eyed, clutching a crumpled piece of paper, his clothes torn. He yelled something, a name, a plea. "Where is she?" Gasps echoed, eyes widened, glasses clattered. The chatter stopped. Michael's breath hitched. "Who?" "Dot," he murmured, gripping the edge of his wheelchair so tightly his knuckles turned white. The man's voice broke through frantic murmurs. "Jasmine, I know you're here." He staggered forward, desperation clinging to him like a shadow. Jasmine froze, her face draining of color. "No," she whispered, but it was barely audible. Michael's mind spiraled as he took in the scene. She was tied to this. But how? Why? Confusion and fear wove through him. The crowd recoiled, whispering in disbelief. "Is that Yes," Jasmine finally shouted, her voice sharp, cutting through the thick tension. "Just stop, please!" Panic coursed through Michael. The energy shifted. The weight of judgment fell on both of them now, igniting questions that raced through their heads. Who was this man? What did he want? Jasmine turned on Michael, urgency etched in every feature. I have to go." No explanation, just the rush of intention he couldn't understand. "Jasmine, wait!" he pleaded, but she was already moving, her legs carrying her through the crowd like a wind through trees, leaving a trail of shocked silence. Michael bolted after her, pushing his chair forward, heart pounding, desperate to catch up. "What's going on?" he cried out, but the world around him faded as the reality of the moment eclipsed everything. In an instant, she reached the man. Their eyes met. Something transformed in her expression. Fear morphed into raw emotion. The crowd shrunk back, their confusion palpable. Then the man spoke. "You promised!" Jasmine's face crumpled. "I thought you were gone," she replied, her voice weak, cracking like ice underfoot. Michael's heart felt like it could shatter. Promised? Gone? The air thickened. Why was Jasmine so wrapped in this stranger's shadow? What had they shared that now ripped at the seams of her new life? As the confused onlookers murmured, Michael froze, shock coursing through him. Did he even know her? The gala lights dimmed, not just outside, but deep within. In that moment, he felt an unspoken truth rumble like an earthquake, shaking everything he thought he understood. The night stretched before him, a tangled web of lies and secrets. What had just unfolded would haunt him. But the most painful question loomed over everything. Was she really who she said she was? And as the city rushed on, oblivious, Michael knew one thing for sure. This was only the beginning. Michael watched Jasmine's face shift. Panic replaced that spark of joy, and it stole the air from his lungs. "What's wrong?" he asked, but the question tasted bitter on his tongue. She didn't answer. Instead, her eyes darted to the crowd, scanning for something or someone. Whatever was on that screen twisted her smile into a tight line. Her fingers trembled as she stashed the phone deep into her pocket. Michael's heart raced, an echo of the city's noise fading into the background. "Jasmine?" He tried to catch her gaze, to pull her back into their moment, but she pulled away. "What did you see?" "It's not." Her words tangled up, the unspoken heavy between them. Then, from across the room, they heard it. "Get away from her!" A voice sliced through the air, sharp and loud. Heads turned, eyes flared with confusion. A man, big and bulky, made his way toward them. Shoulders squared, eyes burning with anger. In his hand, a crumpled wad of paper. Michael gripped the armrests of his wheelchair, the world blurring around him. "Who's that?" Jasmine turned cold, her face drained of color. "No, he shouldn't be here." Before she could move, the man reached them, fear and fury coiling together in the air. "You think you can change everything? You think you can just walk away?" He thrust the paper toward Jasmine, the sound of tearing fabric marking the spotlight of whispered judgments that echoed sharply. "Stop!" Michael felt every soul in the room hold its breath. The man didn't flinch. His focus remained locked on Jasmine. "Tell them the truth!" "What truth?" Michael gasped, trying to understand. Jasmine's eyes were wide, shimmering, brimming with unshed tears. She stepped back, but the man followed, invading the space they had carved out together. "It's not what you think," Jasmine attempted to speak, her voice trembling. "I can explain." "Explain what?" he thundered, anger vibrating through the crowd. "That you've been lying to everyone, still with that gang? The same gang that left you for dead, just like they left me." He jabbed a finger toward her, eyes wild, revealing secrets that had been buried deep. Michael's gut twisted. The crowd murmured, disapproval spanning like a wave. What is he talking about? With a sudden, fierce determination, Jasmine spun to face the man, but her voice cracked. "I left that life behind. I thought..." But the quaking in her voice didn't reassure anyone. A gasp traveled through the crowd, matching the horror growing in Michael's chest. "The gang?" he asked, stunned. "What do you mean?" The man smirked, the cruelty sinking in. She wasn't just homeless. She was running from her past. The chamber went silent. Gasps drowned out in the weight of realization. Everything Michael thought he knew flipped on its head. Jasmine's brave spirit, the hope they shared, was it all a facade? Jasmine's face crumbled, tears spilling, a mixture of guilt and defiance. "I can explain. Just please." But Michael felt the heat of betrayal burning bright. Was this connection built on truth, or was it another layer of lies? How could he trust her now? The man stepped closer, invading their fragile world. "You want a chance? Prove it!" Before Michael could react, Jazz's fingers slipped from his, the room engulfed in a quiet chaos, humming in uncertainty. Hushed whispers floated like arrows, darting between them. And as steel met flesh, the night darkened further, with one shocking question that echoed above all others. Was hope worth the risk if it was built on a foundation of lies? Jasmine's phone vibrated again, harsh against the silence that had settled between them. Michael's heart pounded, his mind racing to decipher the shift in her expression. The laughter that had danced in the air moments ago shattered. This time, the light in her eyes dimmed, replaced with fear that coursed through the air like a thick fog. "What is it?" he asked, voice tight, blending concern with curiosity. "Bye-bye. It's nothing," she replied, too quickly. But the tremor in her hands betrayed her. Around them, the gala continued, oblivious to the storm brewing at their table. Sipping champagne, couples exchanged stories, their laughter rising high, oblivious to a world divided by circumstance. But Michael was locked in. He wanted to push, to demand she let him in. Before he could speak, the air shifted. Jasmine looked past him, her gaze blank. The muscle in her jaw clenched, and the panic radiating from her sent shivers down his spine. He turned his head, following her stare, and froze. A man stood at the edge of the crowd, tall, broad, and utterly wrong for this scene. His presence felt like a dark cloud looming over a sunny day. Michael recognized him immediately, dread pooling at the bottom of his stomach. It was Carl, the figure from the roughest part of his past, the man who had pulled the trigger when fate turned cruel. "What's he doing here?" Michael's voice barely climbed over the noise of the gala. Jasmine's breathing hitched, the color draining from her face. I don't know." Before Michael could ask for more, Carl stepped closer, eyes locking onto Jasmine with a predatory glare. The crowd around them thinned like shadows fleeing the light. He was here for her, that much was clear. "Jasmine!" Carl bellowed, voice dripping with a mix of authority and menace. "You thought you could get away?" The room thickened with whispers. Michael's heart raced, fear gripping him like a vice. Jasmine's secret, a name unspoken until that moment, swelled in the air between them. "Stay away from her!" Michael shouted, instincts igniting like a wild flame. He could feel the eyes of strangers penetrating him, pulling him further into the spectacle, judging the confrontation before them. But Jasmine's panic rose higher. "Michael, it's not what you think!" The urgency in her voice sliced through him. Her eyes glimmered with unshed tears, pleading for understanding. "Not what I think? Who is he to you?" Before she could answer, Carl moved closer, the corners of his mouth twisting into a cruel smirk. "Just a blast from the past, that's all," he drawled, deliberately loud. "Like I said, you thought you could run, but you can't hide forever." Every word felt like a slap. Michael's thoughts spiraled. The connections he built with Jasmine ignited fear that this would unravel everything. Who was she really? What was she hiding? Jasmine shot a look at Carl afore her defenses crumbled. I owe him something, she finally whispered, the weight of her admission crashing around them. Something huge. And just like that, the air turned accusatory, heavy with judgment. Gasps spread through the crowd. Some watched in morbid fascination. Others averted their eyes, feigning ignorance. Michael's stomach twisted. What was the true cost of surviving? What had he just stepped into? As Michael felt the walls closing in, uncertainty churned in his chest. The night was no longer just a gala. It was a battlefield, and standing in the middle, he had to decide. Fight for a love that might be built on a lie, or retreat back into the life he escaped. Jasmine's phone vibrated once more, cutting through the tension. She glanced down, dread etching deeper lines on her face. The message must have been a bombshell. "Michael," she said softly, voice cracking, "I can't lose you now." But the truth was dawning, like a long shadow sent to eclipse the night. Did he even know her? And just like that, they loomed before an abyss of uncertainty. The night was far from over. Jasmine's phone vibrated again, pulling Michael from his thoughts. She stared at the screen, her face twisting in panic. He reached for her hand, hoping to bridge the fear growing between them. "What is it?" She didn't reply. Instead, her eyes went wide, and a sound, a gasp, or maybe a sob, escaped her lips. "Please, just tell me," he pleaded. But the moment felt like quicksand. Unraveling threads of their tension pulled tighter between them. And then, like a spark igniting a fire, Carl took a step forward, his voice low but menacing. "You came back to finish what you started, didn't you? What do you owe him?" The crowd shifted, whispers swirling like a vortex around them. "Who are you talking about?" Michael shouted, desperation leaking into his tone. Before Carl could answer, the room fell silent. A loud bang echoed through the venue, like a gunshot that split reality in half. The chandelier swayed, rattling above them, casting shifting shadows across the crowd. And then it happened. A figure emerged, bursting through the entrance. Jasmine's brother, James, eyes wild, clothes torn, streaked red with something that made Michael's stomach drop. "Jasmine!" he shouted, voice cracking. His frantic energy pushed through the crowd, and before anyone could react, he lunged. He reached her, eyes frantic, face torn with pain. "You need to come with me, now." "What?" Jasmine stammered, horror washing over her as she tried to process what was happening. But James wasn't finished. He pulled something from his pocket, a small device, blinking ominously. "It's not just Carl. You need to understand. They're coming." The room gasped, confusion rippling as people looked at each other, searching for meaning. Michael felt the world close in like a vice, every eye on them, whispering judgments hovering like flies. And then, with a final, chilling realization, James pressed a button. A loud beep echoed, a high-pitched whine that seemed to resonate everywhere. Jasmine's face fell, a dawn of horror sweeping across her features. "No, please, not now!" Michael didn't understand what was happening, but something shifted inside him, a cold grip of fear swirling in his gut. Suddenly, the lights flickered violently, dimming so low that the elegant atmosphere erupted into chaos. He searched Jasmine's eyes, heart pounding. "What did you do?" In that instant, the truth darted across her face, a flash so swift he nearly missed it. I thought I could, but the words evaporated. The ground beneath everyone shook, an impending sense of doom cascading like an avalanche. The walls felt alive, breathing as if the building itself was reacting. And then, a crackle of fire surged above them, a wave of heat consuming the air. A ceiling panel fell, crashing down with a thunderous roar. "Get out!" Michael yelled, panic rising, pushing forward, determination spiraling into desperation. "Everyone, now!" In a flash, Jasmine pulled free from James, her face a mix of fear and determination. "I can't leave!" "Why?" Michael shouted, helpless. "What's happening?" But before she could answer, Carl lunged, grabbing James by the collar, eyes burning with rage. "You didn't think it would end like this, did you?" In the chaos, just as it seemed the world was breaking apart, Jasmine's eyes locked onto Michael's, a moment crystallizing between them. "You have to believe me!" she screamed over the din. But then, in one heartbeat, everything shifted into something utterly unthinkable. James ripped free from Carl's grasp, securing his grip on the device, lifting it high. "I have to save you all!" he shouted, overriding the noise, voice shaky but fierce. "You don't know! You can't!" Before anyone could process the urgency in his words, the device emitted a blinding flash, white light illuminating every corner, every shadow of the room. And in that moment of sheer brilliance, everything froze. The world paused, and then it shattered. Michael's heart sank as he sensed the unraveling, lost among the blinding light and the truth hiding within it. Every familiar face blurred into a canvas of color. But the light began to fade, revealing James, standing upright. Without the madness of moments before, he turned slowly, eyes wide, as a not yet formed realization nodded beneath the surface. "What if I'm not really who you think I am?" Silence crashed around them, and as the crowd erupted into anxious murmurs, everything Michael believed began to flip, leaving only one chilling question suspended in the air. Who was James, really? James's words hung in the air, a heavy fog of uncertainty. What if I'm not really who you think I am? The electricity of his statement crackled, freezing time for a heartbeat, a moment of collective disbelief washing over the crowd. Jasmine's expression shifted, a mixture of dread and vulnerability crossing her face. Michael felt a chill creep up his spine. What could he possibly mean? This night was already spiraling out of control, and now he was throwing gasoline on the fire. "What are you saying, James?" Michael's voice strained, anxiety knotting his insides. The murmurs from onlookers grew louder, turning into a cacophony of speculation. "What do you mean you're not who we think you are?" But instead of answering, James shoved the device deeper into his pocket, a sense of urgency radiating off him. "You don't know the truth about any of us," he said, eyes darting around as if expecting someone or something to emerge from the shadows. The crowd shifted, uncertainty growing thicker than ever. Suddenly, a blast of sirens pierced through the atmosphere, cutting through the chaos of the gala like a knife. The crowd flinched, heads whipping toward the entrance, panic creeping into the room like a slow creep of fog. "Why are the cops here?" someone whispered, their voice trembling. "Run!" another shouted, and that was it. Like a dam breaking, people surged toward the exits in a tide of fear. Jasmine! Michael yelled, trying to keep his eye on her, but the crowd was separating them, bodies crashing against each other, urgent voices melding into a single roar of confusion. "No!" she cried, standing firm, her eyes wide as if rooted in place. "I can't leave." "Why?" "Michael pushed through the sea of bodies. Harte resin, lloviendo piedras así. What the hell is happening?" All around them, chaos explotó. As pies perradas, desperados para escapar. But Jasmine was anchored, capturada en un corriente hermoso. "I have to find," she began. But James cut her off, his voice cracking under pressure. "Jasmine, please, we have to go." Her gaze flickered back to James, then to Michael. There was something pulsing beneath her surface, hidden behind the fear. "He's waiting for me," she whispered. "I have to go." The world twisted again, something shifting in the air. An undercurrent brewing. "Who's waiting?" "What do you mean?" Fear twisted like a knife in Michael's chest. "That's not important!" James shot back, pulling at her arm. "You don't understand!" But the strands holding them together were unraveling. Michael fought against the tide, each step a battle. He could see Jasmine wavering, need mounting in her eyes. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, shadows dancing frantically across the walls. Then, a voice, sharp and commanding, cut through the tumult. "Jasmine!" All heads turned to Spot, a tall figure emerging from the dispersing crowd. Her heart stopped. It was a woman in a crisp uniform, straight-backed and calm amid the chaos. "What? Who?" James faltered, his expression morphing into recognition, a look that chilled Michael's blood. "Agent Reynolds," the woman called, stepping closer, her gaze locked on Jasmine's face. "I found you." Jasmine paled, and Michael's world tilted. "What? You've got to be kidding!" In an instant, Jasmine's facade cracked completely. "No, I thought I was safe. How did you find me?" The crowd stilled as if time itself was holding its breath. Michael's heart dropped. Wait, what's going on? He felt the tendrils of panic suffocating him. Jasmine was not just a woman fighting her past. She was entangled in something much darker. The woman stepped forward, eyes piercing. "You need to come with me, Jasmine. There's no time for this." "Come with you?" Jasmine echoed, her voice trembling. "I can't. Not now. Do you have any idea what's at stake?" Agent Reynolds shot back, urgency lacing her words. "You won't be safe until we get you back. It's not just about you anymore." The weight of realization crashed over Michael like a heavy fog. There was something much bigger at play. Secrets buried beneath layers of fear and survival. "Jasmine, what is happening?" he pressed, the panic rising. But she wouldn't meet his gaze. It was as if a wall slammed down between them. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I can't go back. Not now." Heart racing, surrounded by chaos and uncertainty, Michael faced the abyss of her secrets. Everything they once shared hung by a thread, teetering on the edge of revelation. Every question, every fear, climbed toward a potion of dread. What had she been hiding? What was James's true role in all of this? And just as the tension reached a breaking point, the lights cut out entirely. Darkness consumed the room, and screams erupted as the ground trembled beneath them. Michael's heart raced, drowning in the sudden void. In this moment of complete uncertainty, Jasmine's voice cut through the chaos, fierce and unyielding. I never wanted any of this. Please understand. But could he? The truth of the night slithered into corners, unseen and unspoken, as the darkness morphed around them. Where was the light they'd shared just moments before? The questions coiled tightly, threatening to ensnare them all. The night was far from over, and a storm was brewing that promised to tear everything apart. Would they stand together against the tide, or would everything they'd built shatter on the shores of truth yet revealed? James's words echoed through the dim light of the gala, wrapping the crowd in thick tension. Jasmine was cornered, trapped between the urgency of Agent Reynolds and the storm brewing inside her. Michael felt reality fracture, like glass shattering as he fought to catch her gaze. She was them, yet she was still so far away. "Jasmine, please!" he urged, desperation leaping into his voice. "What truth are we missing?" Agent Reynolds stepped forward, her voice cutting through the confusion. "We don't have time for this. We need to move before they realize where you are." The chaos was growing. People screamed, panic rippling like waves through the crowd. Michael could see their frightened faces, staring wide-eyed at Jasmine, expecting the unimaginable. "Who's coming? Why did you lie to me?" he pressed. But Jasmine's eyes glazed over, darting around the room, as if trying to escape. She stammered, voice trembling. "I thought I had left it all behind, but they won't let me go." In that moment, the truth swayed between them like a pendulum, threatening to tip over. He could feel the room holding its breath, waiting for something to snap. The faces around him carried judgment, confusion, and a hint of sympathy. It was all too much. "No, I can't go back." Jasmine's voice broke, a mix of fear and defiance spilling over. Suddenly, a loud crash. The front doors burst. "Jasmine, they're here for you!" James shouted, pulling her in close. Tears streamed down her face as she turned to Michael. Despair etched into her features. "I never wanted this. I thought I could escape." Escape? He felt the chill of betrayal. But it wasn't just anger. It was fear for her. This woman who had awakened something he thought was gone forever. The officers approached, grim faces under the harsh lights. "You're coming with us," Reynolds barked, reaching for Jasmine's arm. "No!" she yelled, pulling back. "You don't understand. I was trying to protect them." Michael's heart raced. All the pieces began to fit together. There was more to Jasmine's fight than he had realized, something bigger than either of them. "You can stay. We can face this together," he pleaded, voice thick with emotion. But the chaos erupted again as Jasmine's past descended upon them like a dark storm. "I have to, for them," she shouted, pushing away from both James and the officers. "After everything we went through, you're just going to run?" James's voice cracked, desperation wrapping around every word. "Don't you get it?" she cried, eyes pleading, despairing. "I'm not just running. I'm saving us all." Before either Michael or James could react, Jasmine turned and dashed toward the exit, a blur against the backdrop of confusion. "Jasmine!" Michael yelled, lunging forward, trying to reach her, desperation surging. She paused, glancing back at him, her eyes a swirl of sadness and hope. "I'll find you, I promise." And with that, She disappeared into the darkness outside, swallowed by night's shadows. A sickening feeling washed over him, dread pooling in his gut. No! Michael felt hands grip his chair. But it was James. His expression darkened. You really love her, don't you? The intensity of their failed connection hung heavy in the air as the remaining officers turned to Michael. You know something, don't you? Agent Reynolds pressed, her voice commanding. The room was still, everyone holding their breath, a collective gasp echoing through the chaos. Michael whispered, I can help you find her. But deep down he wondered, would the truth set them free or pull them deeper into darkness? As they raced out into the cool night, uncertainty wrapped around him like a heavy cloak. Would Jasmine return? Would he ever know her full truth? The wind howled, carrying unanswered questions into the night. For now, hope flickered like a candle in the dark, illuminating a path fraught with danger, but also possibility. You have to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the exclusive stories coming up that could change everything. Smash that like button right now to help spread our journey, and let's keep the light burning bright. Flood that comment section with your thoughts and theories about what comes next. I want to hear every single one of them. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to dive into this world. Don't wait a single second longer to show your support. Your voice matters.